Yep.
Hello, everybody,
Hello, everybody.
and welcome to Roll for Beer, Calgary's paramount dice rolling and beer drinking podcast.
That tracks.
I'm comfortable claiming that as my very own.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to dispute it, and anybody
Start
want to
rolling
fight
dice.
about it, show up and we'll drink beer and roll dice and see who does it better. Challenge accepted.
Or not accepted because there's nobody challenging us currently.
Well, I mean, we're not here by ourselves. Hello, Vicky.
Hello, gentlemen.
How you doing?
Good. Like I said, to prepare for this podcast, I made sure I bought $100 worth of beer.
Good.
And I'm ready.
Excellent.
I'm ready to challenge.
For those just tuning in and haven't necessarily participated in any of our Discord conversations, Vicky is the founder of the RPGA, the Role-Playing Game Alliance, and one of the co-organizers of RPGA-Con, which is going to be happening in November.
I do just have to say something here. Yes. No, we are live in YouTube as well.
We are most certainly live in YouTube. I'm looking at it right now.
Weird, because we have an upcoming stream, which there are 5 people waiting for, and then we are live.
It's a little weird.
That's a little weird.
I blame Restream.
Yep.
Working out the bugs, working out the kinks. It'll be okay.
I'm going to go just post for those people that are waiting in that other one and be like, hey, come over to this one, guys.
I should, yeah, there we go. Got her beat, man.
Oh, did you fix it?
Yep. Well, it made 2 events for it. It's a thing that happens. It's all good. So tonight, we're going to, we have a diverse lineup of beers between the 3 of us. I dare say a minimum of a dozen.
A minimum.
Would be okay. Absolute minimum. I'm not going to get through that because I have a bunch of prep to do for the weekend.
Yes.
But we're going to be talking about our diverse group of beers, as well as diversity in and inclusivity within tabletop RPG spaces. The benefits of it, some of the considerations that we take for it, and just making sure that everybody's having a good time and how it improves our lives. So.
And beer topic kind of similar. The fact that we get to enjoy so many different beers and the diversity of beers in the marketplace, and not to mention the diversity of breweries and such things.
Abso-friggin-lutely.
All right.
Vicky, how many beers do you have in your roster tonight?
Well, I only have 3 because you told me to buy 3, but when I went to Urban Cellars in Kensington, my neighborhood source, and also I believe they are friends of CGSW, they made me buy 6-packs for each of these things. So I'm set for at least a couple of weeks.
All right. Life is going to be good. I have 4 beers tonight, so I'm going to be rolling a D12 because the D12 doesn't get enough love.
I am rolling a D4 myself, and I've got 4 beers in front of me.
I see. The D12 is the proverbial redheaded stepchild of gaming dice. It needs another seat at the table.
Hey, I'm a redheaded stepchild.
Not a stepchild, but at least a ginger. All right.
Anyway.
Let's shall we roll?
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Very tinny.
Left to right, right to left.
Vicky, you choose. Are we going left to right or right to left?
Let's go right to left to mix it up a little bit.
All right. So, what'd you get? Guests first.
Oh, all right. Let's see, get this right around.
Tokyo.
This is
Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift from Last Best. It's a local brewery and distillery here in Calgary. Last Best is also one of our partners for RPG Alliance Con this year. We will be definitely featuring these. And yeah, I'm quite stoked about it. I like how it says turbocharged IPA strong beer.
Love it. Last Best has given me a lot of really good beers.
Mhm.
Tokyo Drift is specifically one of their only ones that I'm not a fan of.
Really?
Yeah.
It's because James has an uncultured palate when it
Yes.
comes to
Yeah.
hops and things like that.
Yeah. I am the proverbial
Why is it
simpleton.
spicy?
Oh,
Simpleton.
see,
It's just one of those things. I tried it once out with my partner. We were out to dinner, and I'm like, this was not my cup of tea.
oh, see,
But
I just thought I'm a kind of a cyberpunk fan, and anything with Tokyo and Neo Tokyo and
yep.
William Gibson's one of my favorite writers, so couldn't
Mhm.
say no.
Well, and at the end of the day, Last Best makes amazing beers, so I have no
Oh yeah.
qualms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Riley, how about you?
I have Fierce beer.
Fierce beer.
Fierce beer. This is I'm gonna just focus on it for a second there. If I can remember how this ring works. There
A
we
bit
go.
of tartan happening on the can.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
Scottish ale, and it's actually from Scotland.
Nice. I like it.
This is a new beer I just got in my store, and very excited about it. Scottish ale, 5%. Just trying to figure out. It's more on the dark malty, a little bit more caramelly kind of notes, or what they're saying anyway.
Mhm.
So excited to give this a try.
I like it. I am. Oh,
What?
why am I
Oh.
getting a? There we go. I could hear you through YouTube all of a sudden.
Oh,
I just had to fix that. There we go. I am running Asymmetrical Brewing's Resurrection Cream Ale.
Oh,
Ooh.
It's
Yep.
very, very pretty looking.
what's the can art on there? Can you give us a little close up?
It is a like a Greek. I wonder.
Oh, like Acropolis or something like that.
Necropolis full of corn.
Oh, neat.
So we're breathing life into this North American original, first created to mimic the German lagers unavailable when European immigrants flooded into the Americas. Psst, the secret ingredient is corn. All right. It's all of the right colors so far. So, and it's a 4.7%. I'm assuming a lager? No, sorry, cream ale. Cream ale. I said that. I'm paying attention. I promise.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Y'all ready to crack?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, this is my first time. Be gentle.
3, 2, 1. Oh.
Ooh.
Now Riley gets pretentious and will pour his beer into the glass that he left his dice in. And he's allowed. It's fine.
I brought my famous baby Yoda glass.
Ooh, I like it. I have a giant squishmallow of Grogu upstairs.
Lovely.
Because they
they
need it.
Me, oh, Jesus Christ. I was pouring that really badly.
Did you foam out all over the place?
A little bit.
I'll just do half.
I'm just gonna double check our YouTube live here
Situation
and make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
That is incredibly fruity smelling. I gotta say, hazy like a Tokyo summer and boosted to the nines with Mosaic, Ella, Citra, and Simcoe hops. Notes of pineapple, stone fruit, and tangerine drift this one over the finish line. It is incredibly fruity smelling.
Yes, that's because hops can have wonderful fruity esters to them.
All right, this guy right here. Let's see.
Cheers, everybody.
It is golden.
Oh yes.
It is foamy. It's almost like the Mount Bigby cream ales a little bit. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Good health.
Prost, slancha.
Riley, yours has such a nice dark color. It's
really
stouty kind of looking.
That is
Hmm.
wonderful.
Is that one of the beers that I would probably enjoy, Riley?
It might be, it might not be actually.
Oh,
So Scottish export ales are a bit of an interesting one.
hmm,
They are dark malts, and made with an ale yeast, of course, because it's an ale.
yep.
Um, it's got like this nice caramelly bit of more of that nice malt to it, but there's also like an undertone of, I want to say like a dark berry almost.
Okay.
Um, it's really, really easy, but it's got like that little bit like it's almost like you can taste the alcohol a little bit more, even
Hmm,
although it's a lower percentage beer, you still get like that almost a little bit of alcohol warmth from it, or like that taste of that.
hmm.
I like that quite a bit. Export ales definitely you don't see too often, so it's nice to get something a little bit different.
Hmm. I like it. So mine is specifically from, I don't know. Riley, you got these from,
Yes.
um, is it Edmonton that they're
Yeah,
brewed
it's
in?
Edmonton Brewery, yeah.
Okay. And then
They're a newer
Vicky's,
brewery on the block.
yours is Calgary, if I recall.
Yep.
Yes, last best is a Calgary brewing
Yeah.
distillery, and I happen to pick up some of their gin. Oh,
Yep.
that may happen after the show. I don't know. Do I need a little nightcap?
And
Maybe.
and
Usually.
mine is made in Howe Moss Terrace Dice, Aberdeen, Scotland.
I like it. I'm all about having a little bit more Scotland in my life. So
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what? To have a little bit more Scotland, to have a little bit more Calgary, to have a little bit more Edmonton,
have a
it's
little more
almost like
Scotch.
building a diverse beer selection is an important thing.
Look, my beer fridge is full of everything, including IPAs, even if they're
I
not to
know,
my taste.
I know, and
Because
I'm impressed with you, sir. Slightly.
look, I keep an open mind
Mm-hmm.
because at some point I will taste an IPA and be like, yeah, all right. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, right.
It hasn't quite happened yet because again, we all have our individual preferences,
Yeah.
but I am not prejudiced against IPAs. I just have a preference for good beer.
Oh,
So
That's all.
speaking about
burn.
a diverse cast of beers in a
Yes.
brewery, it's important to have a very widespread kind of core lineup, if you will.
Because people like me exist.
Well, it's just the consumer exists. The
True.
consumers all want different kind of products and different kind of beers, and everybody has their biases and things like that. And it's you need to have a diverse core lineup. So
And contrary to popular belief, marketing is not just telling people what they want.
no,
It is not technically what marketing is or how it even works.
no. But I'm going to actually use one of my favorite breweries, Zero Issue, as an
Mhm,
example. They have four core beers.
mhm.
Well, five technically, but four core beers. They have Multiverse, which is their pale ale. They have um, Nemesis, their IPA. They have Innsmouth, which is their sour. And they have kind of a rotating one, but most of the time oh wait, nope, they got five. Clone, which is their coffee lager or
Mhm.
coffee ale, just light, easy drinking.
The thing that I uh, drank two of and was like, I need like 100 more of these to take camping
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
tastes like a cold brew coffee, but it's
yes,
beer.
yes. And then the last one is a rotating one between a blonde or a lager, either rock or bywater.
Mhm.
And that just kind of lends itself to a brewery because you need to have different flavors and different prospects for everything to do with that. Because if you don't, you're going to scare people away. I have seen it where there are people who make beautiful beers, but their lineup was so advanced for people's palates that it drove people away.
There's also something to be said for again targeting the consumer in that regard. Um, we live in Alberta, like
Yeah.
this. We make no secret about this. Alberta is a craft beer. I'll call it. It's kind of like a craft beer mecca, if
Yeah.
you will, for Canada, right? Like BC has some really good beers, but Alberta has a lot of craft breweries.
Yeah.
And nothing saddens me. And again, I don't mean to harp on IPAs at all, but I went with our friend Matt. A new brewery had opened up in Northwest Calgary. This is 4 or 5 years ago. And it's like, what do you have? Well, we have these 6 IPAs and like this other thing that we're working on. And I'm just like, I was really excited. And then I was really let down because you've given me the equivalent of a mayonnaise sandwich here.
Aw.
Well, it's just
Aw.
there's just nothing appealing about what I'm seeing here, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to take you down to IPA days one of these times.
Sorry, is this a festival for
Yes, it
a
is.
kind of beer that I don't drink?
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually put on by Last Best, surprisingly enough.
Yay!
And basically, it is a IPA contest for breweries. And the whole thing is everybody brings down their IPA and they all tap them at Last Best. And it's a
Mhm.
race to who finishes their keg first with some votes as well.
Oh, nice.
Interesting tidbit. Last Best, not yet a sponsor. One of those things.
Yep. But
I'd be down for that.
Yep.
I keeping an open mind on everything.
Yep.
I would.
I will find one that you will drink.
That is entirely fair.
Let me throw this at you because you mentioned Zero Issue Brewery, and they were our beer sponsor back in 2019. And I love those guys. And we did a lot of interviews with them, with our game runners from that year at the brewery. And they're just awesome. And that's the thing, right? Their art is amazing. The comic
Yes.
book artists that they have do their art in their cans. And I have to say, as far as diversity goes, how much, I mean, you mentioned marketing before, but I am a sucker for a good design on a can. That's why I asked you about the
Oh.
artwork on yours. I think I like companies that invest in the aesthetic appeal of that sort of thing
And pay
Well,
their artists.
and pay their
yes.
artists. And Zero Issue does a great job of partnering with different artists.
I
Yep.
had 2 of them in my
And-
roster tonight.
And they have a comic book, right? They have a
Mhm.
comic
Yep.
book line also in partnership with those artists. And yeah, and Next Level was our sponsor last year. And again, their art, and they're always changing it up, always bringing on seasonal brews,
and-
and just I like it. It keeps you interested in going back to see what they got this
Also,
month,
the
right?
black cans.
Oh,
yeah.
So sexy. Anyway,
It's
sorry.
slick. This corn
Yeah.
beer is amazing. I am
Yeah.
Yeah.
all about this at this point.
It's a phenomenal beer. It's they're one of the newer breweries in town.
Mhm.
But them, Irrational, funny, our beer awards show was just a little bit ago, and there was some pretty cool kind of things. But I think that's going to be the topic for the next time, is talking about beer awards.
I like it.
I don't think we're going to drag on too much longer for the beer topic tonight, just because I know that we got a lot to talk about for
Yeah.
the gaming side of things.
So, soapbox time, Vicky.
Soapbox.
Soapbox. Can you tell our viewing audience and listening audience on Spotify and Audible and everywhere else that podcasts are consumed, aside from Apple Music, you know what you did, a little bit about the Role Playing Game Alliance, what caused you to, or what led you to found it, grow your community, and then start putting all of the time and effort and funds into something like RPGA-Con. RPGA Hybrid Con.
Cool. That's a lot. Hold on, let me chug this. Chug, chug, chug. Let's all chug. Let's all have a little bit of a chug before we get into the fun
Indeed.
stuff.
I'm entirely
dear.
okay with that.
Oh boy, that's good. Okay. How
Whistles are wet.
Oh, sorry, I have my new mic. I just want to comment about my new mic. I don't know how to use it,
That's fair.
but I identify as a lesbian woman, and we always have penis envy. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this mic in the future.
I'm
It's
just going to point out that they make windscreens in all shapes and colors and sizes.
There you go. And that would remind me of a dental dam, but I regress. No, I'm just kidding. It's look, I've only had half a beer and it's already happening. The body humor.
Is
But
it the beer or is that all natural, Vicky? Who
well, when
knows?
you see me play Conad Exiles with my friends on Twitch, we go full nudity. It gets nasty. Let me
I
just
see
say
how
you.
it is.
Yeah, it gets nasty. I always make sure my guy's wearing my avatar's wearing a kilt and things are jiggling.
It
Just
helps.
for a little fun, when you're older. But anyway, back to RPG Alliance. RPG Alliance came out of, oh gosh, we get deep and emotional. I don't know. There's a lot of people out there, and I'm doing one of our social pop ups this year is with a group of veterans, and we're going to talk about how gaming helps people through hard times.
Mhm.
And social interaction so important to your mental health. So gaming kind of fills that niche in a lot of people where you get
Mhm.
the social interaction, especially through COVID and doing
Yeah.
online gaming. You aren't
Mhm.
isolated. So for me, when I was going through my divorce, I was running D&D 5e for my stepson and all his friends in junior high. And then all of a sudden, I don't have them anymore. So I went to Sandy from Revolution Games, Sandy Anderson.
Oh, I am a long fan of Sandy, and we
Yeah,
ran uh our Calgary Dungeons and Dragons uh games there constantly.
yeah.
And my greatest regret is not getting to use up all that store credit that I had built up
Oh,
before
yeah, I bet.
finally
I
one of
bet.
those things.
Sandy's from my hometown, actually.
Oh,
And she actually just, she still keeps an eye on the gaming community in Calgary. It was such a heartbreak when Revolution Games had to close
yeah.
down. But I said, hey, what do you think about me running like an LGBT D&D group so I could find some friends to game with and help me get through this hard time of going through a divorce? And
Hmm.
she said, sure, come on down. And so we started out with running the starter set, right?
Yeah.
With D&D. And then we got really popular really fast. So then we ran Sunless Citadel. We had
Hmm.
two starter groups. And from those two starter groups, I was just looking at the game runners. We have at least 4 members from those two starter groups back in 2017 that are running games for us again this year. And
Nice.
they have for every
Cool.
year. So it all started from the LGBTQ and allies meetup D&D group.
Nice.
And none of us could afford to go to Gen Con. So we thought, let's have our own little Gen Con right here in
What
Calgary.
what's it? We'll start our own con with like strippers and cocaine. Yeah.
Well, you know what? The funny thing is, we
Oh
started
no.
running Vampire the Masquerade at the same time. And
Yeah.
Sandy said, well, you guys are a little excitable. Maybe this is not appropriate for a store where there's kids. And then one
Yeah.
of my players said, why don't you go down to Dickens Pub's Gamer Sunday? And I'm like, what the heck is that? And then I called up Amber from Dickens Pub. She said, yeah, come down. We're open every Sunday. Yeah, bring your vampire friends. You can drink beer, have pizza. It would be great. And so we started running Vampire there and then doing D&D at Revolution. And then later
Mhm.
on at Titan's Vault
Yeah.
after Revolution closed. And we just hit it off with Amber and Chris, the husband and wife owners of Dickens. They're
Yeah.
great. They do drag shows. They do all kinds of live music
For
stuff.
for folks that aren't from the Calgary area, Dickens Pub is the place if you want live music from kind of old school punk bands and touring European metal shows
Um,
and symphonic metal and yeah.
and the Dreadnoughts
Yeah.
and the Motherfuckers. That is
Yeah.
the name of an actual band. Uh, and
Power Glove, Ailstorm.
yep.
Yeah. It is like if you're looking for like I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but like the dingy basement scene of like um
You're
of
not scared to spill your beer. That's for
I
sure.
played on that stage a bunch of times too. It's a good time.
Yeah.
and just like supporting your local music scene, Dickens is the place to do it.
It is such a fun place.
Yeah.
I cannot speak highly enough of Dickens. It is when you go in sometimes you're like, "Oh, this is gross in here, but I love this."
Nah,
Real. Like
it's
it's authentic, right?
it's
Yeah, yeah,
authentic.
it's authentic.
Decades
I'm
of
not
sweat and beer and dancing
yeah,
and more
and
sweat.
and like I'm saying, it's not gross because of the pub. The pub is actually very clean
Oh, and
and their
the
food is
food's
really good.
great.
But you just feel icky as there's just sweat everywhere.
It
Yeah.
has character. That's what it is.
Character.
You're embracing the character and the
Yeah.
charisma when you go inside. That's all.
You
Yep.
can feel, yeah, you can feel the sonic energy of decades of bands playing there and drag
Mhm.
shows
Yeah.
and you name it, and poetry readings
Hang the
and all
DJ.
sort of stuff.
And
Hang the DJ's classic. Thank God they
yeah.
were streaming it during COVID, or I don't know what I would have done. But
Yep.
during COVID, they renovated a lot, so they had new furniture, did new bathrooms, did everything.
Mhm.
They put time, sweat, and energy. And their Halloween gig is coming up pretty darn quick. Not this
Mhm.
weekend, but I think next weekend. It's 80% sold out. They transform that place into different themes every year, and they go all out. It's like a 3-week process. We used to have our first con in October, but then they said, "Listen, we need the room. We got to get Halloween settled."
Yeah.
And I said, "No problem." But we did our first con there. We only had 8 games, and we were we were talking about partnering with the Red Deer LARP group for Midnight Theater for Vampire the Masquerade. And
Mhm.
then they kind of couldn't get it quite together, but we ended up showing the documentary World of Darkness at
Yep.
our very first con. Right after we played the games, we all sat around, we had pizza, and we all watched this documentary on like Vampire the Masquerade, which was, if you were from the
Mhm.
90s, changed the game in a huge way. At
Yep.
least for me,
Yeah.
I was in university and it was wonderful. So the RPG Alliance, just get back to that for a sec. It came from my daughter was in a junior high and they had the Gay Straight Alliance. And then I'm sorry, for Star Wars, I'm definitely the Rebel Alliance. I'm not the Empire. So between those two ideas, we came up with RPG Alliance because we just wanted it to be, you know, metaphorically, alliance of people, alliance
Mhm.
of gaming systems,
Yep.
just coming together.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
kind of was the idea. So we really wanted to open it up to more than just D&D,
Mhm.
and we wanted game runners to run whatever they wanted, whatever their home group wouldn't take a chance on. Let's have this con, do a one shot, and try something different with a little bit of flavor.
I
I mean,
I
that gets us
really
back to diversity, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm always a sucker for random RPG games. I tend to love the most random things I can find. I have played some one-page games. I have played some of the like the larger games. I've played the games
Mhm.
where it's like, why is this so complicated? This should not be this complicated
Yeah.
to roll one die.
So, a couple.
D&D4E,
Yeah.
D&D4E.
All right. So, I would encourage you to take a listen to some of the episodes from season 1. I spent a good half an hour talking about the what ended up happening with 4th edition,
Yeah.
because way back in the day, long story short, they were trying to build a virtual tabletop, you know, 15 years ago, and they built the system around using a virtual tabletop, and the
Oh,
tabletop didn't ever get built, so they ended up with a game system that didn't make any fucking sense to all of the people that loved it. And they took all of the lore out and replaced it with like computation. And don't get me wrong, I I love nerd math, but
mhm.
don't take my fantasy lore out of my descriptions. And I have problems
The
with
the
that.
the
Yeah.
first time I played 4E as the dungeon master, my friend decided to make a paladin, and I was like, okay, that's fine. He made his paladin unkillable with
Yep.
level 3 creatures at
Yeah.
level 3. It was just like, this should be, balanced for a level 3 encounter. I can't hit the paladin no matter what.
Well, and uh going back to Vicky, you were talking about Chronicles of Darkness and World of Darkness and Vampire the Masquerade.
Mm,
So
love
Onyx
that
Path
stuff.
Publishing they're actually a part of our current fundraiser
Oh, fantastic.
for Roll for Wishes. They did their stream a week ago, I think.
Mhm.
So they're part of it. Kobold Press has been a part of it. Um, we had a couple of folks run some Evil Hat games as a part of it as well. And gaming as a whole is just better when if everything's D&D, you end up having a mayonnaise sandwich again.
Mhm.
Like, don't get me wrong. I've said this before and I'll say it again. D&D is rollerblades and Kleenex and Band-Aid. It's D&D night. It doesn't mean that's what we're playing.
No.
Mhm.
We want there's a vibe and I need something to fit the vibe. And that might be VTM and it might be Blades in the Dark and it
Yeah.
might be Thirsty Sword Lesbians and it might be,
Fiasco.
yeah, Mutant Zero or whatever, right?
Mothership.
Yes.
Oh, love
Lasers and
A
feelings.
quiet year.
A quiet
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's not just systems because I again earlier this season we talked about the benefits of taking a little bit from one system and being like this really works. I'm totally using this over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's complications when you try and do some of that kind of stuff. Like uh appropriating things that you don't really have any right to appropriate in certain contexts. Um, and we were talking earlier about Crow and Coyote,
Mhm.
which is a fantastic TTRPG system written by some really amazing creators. And I've ordered a hardcover. It hasn't gotten here yet.
Oh,
Oh
see,
no.
we've given away ever since this came out. We kickstarted it, and
Mhm,
we every year since it's come out, we've been buying the hard copies. Again, we partner with Eastside Sports and Gaming. They do special
Oh
orders,
yeah, yeah.
mhm,
and they're great. They got it within, I think it was really 7 days for us.
mhm,
And we always, yeah. So again, my buddy Brent Knorr is running Coyote and Crow,
mhm,
along with his friend Jared.
mhm,
And we're partnering with Urban Society of Aboriginal Youth
mhm.
to be their focused charity on it.
Yeah.
And they just ran it for a bunch of the organizers at that charity, and they loved it because the idea is if we can get the organizers or again Jared and Brent are doing all this with Stephen, they can turn the organizers of the community group onto it, then they can supply core books, dice, adventures, and maybe turn the youth onto it and expand the game into
Mhm,
that community, not just our settler or colonists or whatever you want to call us community, but into that community that the creators are from, and share
mhm.
the joy of the hobby that the
Y
creators are really doing a fantastic job of bringing their perspective, their worldview,
mhm,
giving us a different language that we never had, their language, their culture, teaching us a different perspective on not just gaming but world building,
mhm.
and it's
I've
fabulous. And Crow's a great example of that.
well, and I've used, uh, I pull from, every mythology possible, and the stories of basically anything that I can get my hands on to read for inspiration, um, but never to the point of, like, trying to co-opt someone else's voice, but because there's value in hearing everybody's perspectives on how like, especially,
Oh
like,
yeah.
hero's journey tales, for instance.
Mhm, mhm.
The Greeks told it very differently from the Romans, who told it very differently from, you know,
The
uh,
English.
the English. There is that. Um, but from all people from all over our brave blue world, so to speak, um, and everybody's voices matter. I pride myself on running a company that has a diverse cast, right?
Mhm.
We've got just about 30 people in our player roster that
Yeah.
can apply to games and come in and, you know, um, help tell a story and include their viewpoints and their experiences in what we're doing. And I'm really, really excited to get to be a part of the convention that you guys are putting on and be able to share some of my experiences with some of the people. If anybody signs up for a game, I don't know yet. We'll figure it out. Maybe they don't want to play my
Well,
D&D
that's
games.
what we're on now on tabletop events,
Yeah.
and hopefully we can put a link somewhere eventually in the description. But thank you for running so many games on that Sunday, and
Yeah,
it's really exciting because you're bringing things that we haven't seen before too, right? And that's diverse.
Lasers and feelings matters. Lasers and feelings is the single best thing to ever happen to TTRPGs, in my opinion, because you can play through a game in 45 minutes.
Wow.
And like it's a dichotomy of like you need two kind of opposing, not opposing, but like alternate forces, mom and dad, or like might and magic, or
Mhm.
things like that. And playing with my kids, Bingo and Bluey, right? One's physical and one's more mental. Like it works.
Speaking about mental forces, I would like to roll for another beer if possible.
Oh yeah, mine is pretty much gone.
The glass is empty, boys.
Yep.
To it.
All right, I got 3 beers left. 3, 2, 1.
1.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Tonight, Vicki, what did you roll for?
Well, I rolled on an online dice roller because I don't
That's
want to
fair.
wake my cat Debbie up, who's sleeping really quietly now. And if I wake her up, you're going to get a nice shot of a bum, a cat bum coming before the camera.
We are familiar with Bast, Riley's cat,
Yes.
and Darwin, mine, but she can't really get up here
Yeah.
most of the
So
time.
I have to admit, I went with a non-alcoholic Guinness because I have to work tomorrow. I have a hearing at 9:00.
That is fair. It is a
And I
thing that
didn't
happens.
realize they made zero.
It's just come back out it's just come into the market. It is I haven't had a chance to try it yet. I've been trying to get it listed at my store because I have so many people asking for it.
Well,
Oh
I
my
saw
gosh.
it when I was watching, like, I'm a big NFL fan, and I saw Joe Montana doing a commercial for this, and I'm like, get out of town, Joe.
Does it have a nitro ball in it?
Yeah, it does. I can
Oh.
feel it. Can you guys feel
All
it?
right
Here?
then.
I
The
can hear
jingle?
it.
Yeah.
By the way,
Let
do you
me
know the proper way how to pour a Guinness?
No, I don't.
Slowly over the course of 7 minutes while you eat some.
Basically, you grab a Guinness,
Steak.
you crack it, and you do that. If you have a big enough glass, basically you do a hard pour, as it's called.
Yeah.
And the reasoning is because, yay, I get to do geeky bird
Yeah.
beer stuff. Yes. I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm messing up my words. Okay, so hard pouring. I'm gonna go get my Guinness from the fridge. Be right back.
Hard pouring, not to be confused with hard coring.
Yes, 2 very different things. Very different things.
That's right.
One is more fun than the other.
Oh my God! How that fridge was very close.
It is a mini fridge.
Whoa! Cheers! Right on.
Cheers. I'm changing my beer.
right.
Because I have to do this now. So
Okay.
Guinness hard pour. What it is, I'm doing this before you guys. I know, I don't care.
We want to learn a new skill
Crack it.
that we can put on our CV for future
And-
jobs.
Okay.
All
and
right.
what this does is it gives you a beautiful cascading effect.
Mhm.
And what it also does is it reactivates the nitro that's in the beer.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, is it okay if I pop mine so I can?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Try it?
I will pop with you. 3,
Okay.
2, 1. Oh.
Whoa! Whoa! Oh, it's foaming already. Uh-oh, I think I woke up the cat.
All
Debbie.
over my shirt. Every time. Every time.
Okay. Let's try
Look
not
at that
to
cascading.
spill.
I have a history.
Okay,
The
Riley,
second
I'm going
beer.
to try it because you've inspired me, my friend.
Yep.
Oh,
Here we go. Oh, am I doing it right?
There you go. Yep.
Yep.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
you got it.
Uh-oh.
You're fine. You're
Uh-oh.
fine. You might have to just pull it out a little bit.
Okay,
There
I
you
had
go.
to
Yep.
pull out.
But
That's
take a
the
look at
first time
that.
I said that with my phallic mic. I had to pull out.
But look
But
at
look
that
at that
color.
cascading
That.
effect. Look at that.
Sorry, I
That's
have a shit
amazing.
camera, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
all
all
good.
good.
Oh, this way, here's like, take a look at Baby Yoda.
Oh,
Oh yeah, he's a happy Yoda.
so you guys have
Sorry,
talked
buddy.
about your beers. I have a Mount Bigby Cream Ale, 4.7% out of Revelstoke, BC, and their tagline is "No science, no beer."
Yep.
Yeah, Mount Bigby makes some really fucking good beer.
Mount
Like
Big.
Yep.
if I'm in the backyard sitting around my fire and just or like doing gardening, Mount Bigby is the beer I generally drink. Riley,
Hi.
nice mustache,
Thank you.
very frothy.
So I'm not drinking regular Guinness, by the way.
What are you drinking?
Cold Nitro Crow Brew coffee beer. Coffee beer. How is it?
This is better than Guinness.
You shut your whore mouth.
No, seriously?
This is better than Guinness. Guinness Nitro beer with coffee.
Cheers,
Fucking
everybody.
amazing. Cheers.
Cheers.
And like you said, Zero Issue Brewery has a coffee beer
Mhm.
as well, right?
Theirs is that's probably the best. Like normally when you think coffee beer, you think like coffee stouts. And
Okay.
Zero Issues is just not. It's
No.
so much better.
It's a light, easy drinking beer.
See, the trouble is I would take 30 of them camping and they wouldn't make it past the first day because
Okay.
it's so easy to drink.
Oh yeah, I
Yep.
bet. Hey,
Yeah.
I
Especially
gotta
cold
say,
on a hot
this is a
day.
bit disappointing.
Yes.
I
Yes,
love
and
Guinness.
to
And
chats,
this is thin. It's thinner,
yeah,
Mhm.
and it doesn't
it's
have
going to
depth
be
of
thinner.
flavor. Yeah, it has the look and stuff, but it's not like I'm a fan of Guinness. It's probably my favorite kind of stout.
Guinness is my it used to be my favorite beer.
Mhm.
And then I discovered Erdinger Dunkelweizen and that kind of like pushed it up.
Oh,
They're a similar sort of category for me. Like
Mhm.
I get the same sorts of things out of it.
mhm.
Given the choice, Erdinger I'll generally pick over a Guinness, but uh, I haven't been to Europe at all, and I
Mhm.
one day hope to try authentic Guinness.
Oh my
Mhm.
god, I want to so badly. But there was a
Dublin, here we
quick
come.
a
Yeah.
quick thing in chat there. Coffee and alcohol. Yes, coffee beers are wonderful.
It's weird. It's
I
a thing.
will have to bring you my favorite coffee beer in general, Java
Oh.
the Hutt, at
I
some
think
point.
I've had that.
It's
Ooh.
friggin' amazing.
Yeah,
Favorite, hands down favorite coffee beer.
I
Hands down.
love it.
Anyway,
Yeah. But I
so
don't think I would do this again. I
Yep.
think I actually have to say I've had a couple non-alcoholic beers.
Mhm.
It's okay if you have to drive. It's okay, but
mhm.
it's not satisfying. It's
No,
okay. It's not Guinness.
it's
I
not
think
Guinness.
I need to do an episode based off of non-alcoholic beers and talk about them a bit because there's so much to the science behind non-alcoholic beers and it's really interesting stuff. It's just oh boy.
It's a lot.
That's a whole other thing. But
Yep.
we're talking
I-
about RPGs.
Yeah, I wanted to loop this back. So, Vicky, what over the last couple of years, because you guys got started 2017, 2018 range there, you said, right?
2018 was our first con with 8 games. 2019 we had 32 games at Dick and Pub. That was
Mhm.
our height, and then freaking COVID came and wiped us out.
Story of my life.
And then we had the online COVID experience where everybody in that first year of COVID was doing online gaming. And we were excited for it because we're all desperate to do something.
Mhm.
And we had like a huge online gaming con. And that moved us into hybrid because we met so many Americans
Yep.
and British guys or folks that and we became good friends with them, especially like the folks at Greyhawk and the folks at Dungeon Classic Crawl Classics. Like the DCC community has been phenomenal. So if we're talking gaming and diversity, that's it. COVID opened up a whole new world for our convention.
Mhm.
And the convention, the RPG Alliance Con, is really the convention of we've changed our branding from the LGBTQIA dot plus allies D&D to just queer questing
Mhm.
TTP RPG meetup. But it's our convention, and even though we do events all year round,
Mhm.
um, it really is our fundamental once a year annual convention where we get everybody we know together again.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And when we talk about, I just want to come circle back to what you were talking about, your 30 people in your player pool and how they can apply for any game and be part of diverse storytelling. Part of that too is you see, at least I see in my games, because I have really wild mixed games. Like my Pulp Cthulhu in person game is a straight cis male, white male, a straight cis white female, a married lesbian couple, and a beautiful hunky burning love gay guy.
Mhm.
And we've they've known each other all for years. It's not a big thing. They play characters that are not reflective necessarily they're in real life, and that's the fun of it. They get to play characters that are very different from them,
Hmm.
different genders, different sexual orientation, different ages. And that's a great thing about role playing is that it gives a player and a game master who's playing NPCs our chance to put our feet and put our human empathy into those characters we are playing together. And
Mhm.
hopefully not using culturally inappropriate stereotypes or anything like that, but
Yeah.
really putting ourselves into what if I was playing a African American investigator in Cthulhu, what would her experience be in 1923 in Boston?
Yeah.
And really doing the research, which I love because I have a history degree,
Mhm.
and getting, we get some of those players who love to do 4-page backgrounds on their
Yeah.
character, really sink their teeth into what they would experience if they were born in the South and migrated up to North in that time. What would they have gone through? And you see that lots in D&D too. If you have a tiefling bard and you have the player trying to get into the backstory, and that's where the D&D fantasy kind of stuff, where you take yourself out of in real life kind of issues around race, class,
Mhm.
place of origin, sexual orientation, all those kind of human rights kind of grounds. Used to work at the Human Rights Commission too. Um, and you put yourself into a system like D&D, and there's obviously analogies, of course,
Yes.
but
Always.
stepping into someone else's skin, and that's what novels and writing does. You feel what other people feel, other your character feels, and it's a bridge that every person can build to every other person as just a human on a human level. And that's where role playing really has its genius
Mhm.
in my opinion. I'm sorry about the rant, but I
No,
really feel
it's
Oh, that's
passionately about that. I don't know how, so I
well,
love playing
there's
male characters on video games.
Mhm.
I love playing them in real games, and I love playing them because I start to get an idea. Hopefully, I don't totally understand your perspective, but I get a little more sympathy, understanding, and feeling for where my male friends are coming from. And we talk about,
it
how do you guys feel about this? How do you feel about that?
it makes it
How do you
easier to
feel about
empathize at that
manscaping?
point.
Mhm.
Manscaped.com, never again. Never again.
No.
Biggest letdown ever, gotta say.
Did you actually order Manscaped?
Me my partner did for a birthday because I shave my head and I keep a beard and all the rest. And you know what? Not impressed with their stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
Ben
it
Foster, the famous goalie, is sponsored by Manscaped. He swears by it, and he's a
yeah,
genius soccer
was
player
was never
or
a
football
thing
player.
compared to the Philips that I've been using for a long time. It's just
Mm,
not a thing.
Oh,
But
that's so
to
disappointing to hear.
to your point though, there was a big push for a long time, and like we one of the things that we interact with on a regular basis is something like cancel culture, for
Mhm.
instance, right? Uh, how dare you do that? Weren't you thinking of this other group? Um, and this kind of comes back to what I was saying before of this isn't your story to tell. And we see this a little bit in pop culture where it's like, um, if culture or race or orientation or gender isn't a core component of a character, there's no problem with switching things up in any way, shape, or form, right? Um, like you wouldn't have a white guy playing Black Panther, for instance, an African prince, probably doesn't make any sense. But
Mm.
when those tenets aren't at the core of the character, any actor can really step into their shoes. And I see the same thing with role playing. Like there was a strong outcry at one point, not too terribly long ago, of like, you can't play a black D&D character, you're not black. That's like, okay, but to your point, I want to empathize and I want to understand, and like everything that you put towards that and everything that you said about how would this person have experienced life playing in the 1930s in a Call of Cthulhu game? What would their experience have been? The more I understand, the more I read, the more I explore, because TTRPGs are essentially a safe haven for exploring ideas and learning to empathize. And kitties, always kitties,
Sorry,
100%
she woke
kitties.
up. I would say this. I mean, there's a difference between doing your best to learn and do the kind of method acting research to play a character properly than just playing a, say, an African American stereotype, or someone
Absolutely.
playing like, like a man trying to play a lesbian character. Definitely play a lesbian character, but don't play
A
the stereotype.
stereotypical
You know what I mean?
one.
Um,
When
make that character into a real thoughtful, living, breathing human that has parents just like you, that has kitty cats just like you, that has to pay rent, has children. My
Mhm.
child's in university. I mean, I work with nothing but straight people, and we bond at the minimum over our kids and our
100%.
and just who we love and who
Mhm.
is family, and we're all humans, and that's it. So just, I would say, yeah, I understand that reaction. I get it, especially if
Yeah.
you're forming one of those groups. And I can only speak as a white woman, lesbian, single mother.
Mhm.
I don't own a home. I'm very much working class. Um, as far as that, I can only speak to my own experience. I can't speak to
Mhm.
the African American experience. But as a game runner, I would say, if you come from a sincere place,
Mhm.
I really wanting to do the character justice, you will grow as a human being, and the
Yeah.
game will be better for it, and your role
100%.
play will be fantastic, and you will learn things about yourself and a connection with whom that character you're playing in that community you may be, learning from, that will make the story better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One of the things that you included with the RPGA-Con events is a set of boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
And, for instance, the games that I'm running at the event, is this a diversity, equity, inclusion game? If it is, define your own community in your own terms and your own words. Um, and everything that I put in here, and I'm going to read this verbatim because I I think it's important. Um, this is a diversity, equity, inclusion game. Your event runner falls under the queer category, and this game system is often used as a safe construct for exploring different archetypes and role playing gender orientation. Because for a lot of folks, um, TTRPGs are the first place that they step into a role that is not necessarily what they've been saddled with.
Mhm.
Um, and I really dug into the next section of this, of like, if this is a diversity and inclusion game, is it open to allies? And it confused me a little, because why wouldn't it be? If it's an equity and inclusion game, why wouldn't it ever be? But I understand that there's steps, right? And sometimes
Mm.
you're not necessarily ready to have to justify your choices to somebody, right?
Mhm.
Um, but when you ask about what your boundaries are, if allies are playing, I put understand that somebody at the table may use this single hour of gameplay to express themselves as a gender or an orientation beyond what's visible, sometimes for the very first time. Be kind and compassionate to one another, and we're all just figuring things out as we go, right?
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
uh, you may not know this, so we've been running community events through the Calgary D&D group on Facebook for uh, ever since before when Revolution was still around. So, call
Okay.
it 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
And we run events for parents and kids to come in and just sit down at a table and play and most of the time it's the parents being like, I don't know anything about this, but my kid watches Critical Role and they want to do a thing. And they always have
Thank
a great
God for
time,
Critical Role.
right?
Thank
Yeah,
God. Yeah.
100%. Or,
I think that's definitely a chat at some point.
oh yeah,
Is thank God for Critical Role and God damn it, Critical Role.
Well, everything's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's true.
nothing is truly blissful and
Yeah.
yeah.
100%.
Everything exists on an alignment structure. But we also run an event, and last time we ran it, it was really successful, called Be Who You Want to Be. And it was an opportunity for trans kids and LGBTQ plus and acronyms
Mhm.
kids to come and just play D&D and not get any crap from adults. And again, in the same vein of what we were just talking about, have an opportunity, sometimes for the first time, to
Mhm.
experiment and try in a place that isn't a risk. And that's
Exactly.
so important in our community. And you've been doing this for significantly longer in the Calgary scene, and making sure that these spaces are available. And I really look forward to um, having Logomancy be a big part of the RPGA going forward, and
Thank
making
you.
sure that the community events that we put on are hospitable and welcoming and more frequent than I've had time having small kids than I've been able to commit to. So,
Yeah.
but
Can I
we've
I'm sorry.
yeah,
I don't know if you guys are trying to wrap up or anything, but can I touch upon a couple of things you mentioned?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Um, we so in our 2019 con, I had a couple queer female game runners ask if they could run a women's only D&D, and I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Mhm.
Um, and then fast forward to this year, I had a trans person game runner. Um, and I hope it's okay that I use that label because I don't think they use that label for themselves, but they use they them pronouns.
Mhm.
Um, say, we had a talk about running games, and they said, "Well, I thought RPG Alliance was just cis white guys," and I'm like, "Well, no. I mean, obviously, I'm the
That's
founder,
yeah.
but those are also the people in our hobby
Mhm.
that are the majority, and they come out and they support us. And on our organizing meetings, it's me and a bunch of cis white guys,
Yep.
but these are cis white guys that are, I mean, allies isn't quite the word. They are my friends.
Mhm.
And they believe in
Yep.
like it's hard to bring like this idea, guys, can we do gender equity inclusion games to create safe bubbles of spaces for people from these communities in our larger event? So it's like you are part of us, but we also recognize you may want to have a women's only game where you
Mhm.
feel safe and that there is absolutely no chance you're going to be hit on, sexually or harassed, man
Mhm.
spoke, all these derogatory things that as women gamers happen. I guarantee almost every woman gamer has experienced something like that. When you're the only woman in the room at a table,
Mhm.
it has happened on some level, condescension because of misogyny or whatever. So
Mhm.
Right.
when I have when I'm sitting at my organizing meeting, I've got 5 other guys,
Mhm.
and they're like 100%. We have friends, wives, daughters, brothers who are in our queer community or whatever other community. I'm married to a woman of a different ethnic origin than whatever. They
Mhm.
say we want to support this idea of inclusion. That's why we're here. And the weirdest thing was, and I'm sorry I'm going on with another rant, but
No.
one of them said, when I saw this game, this convention, and you asked me to run a game, I didn't think this was a place for me because it's from your queer meetup group. I didn't think you would want a cis white dude there. But then you're asking me to run a game. And he goes, it really touched me that you would invite me into your space. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I never thought of that. I
Just
never
because
thought,
you're cis
hey,
doesn't mean you're not queer. Just saying.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. And so just as I could probably talk about this forever, but I'll just wrap it up with this. Through this process, now we've gotten so many hate mail, nasty comments on our Facebook group, email, spam attacks, and phishing attacks, all these things. We've really had a lot of attack from trolls.
Yeah.
Whoa, Debbie
no.
got crazy.
Oh,
Okay, sorry about the
Cat
cat.
attack.
cat
But
attack.
what I found out is I've been gaming with some of these people, and even myself. I thought my gaydar was pretty good. Um, Through this process of people identifying, yes, I want to run a diversity equity game. I am a member of this community,
Mhm.
and here are the things I would like my game to look like and have boundaries and that sort of thing. And I'm like, I didn't know we were part of the same community. And I've had so many discussions. Now I think we have 17 diversity equity games on the schedule out of 71 in total.
Mhm.
And I have gamed with a couple of these individuals for years, and we have never had that conversation. So even with the kind of the community itself, I'm like, oh, I didn't know. And thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being brave enough, considering how much hatred and spam and nasty stuff we're getting, to put yourself out there to create this space for that community. And I just want to mention too, it's not just the queer community. A couple of the games are African American neurodivergent community, or African American and BIPOC
Mhm.
community identified. And we're so excited to have those game runners come and bring diversity, because you know what, we haven't had a talk about, for example, neurodivergence, the spectrum. And I'm sure we've all played with people on the spectrum, yes. And actually, when you're, and not, I don't want to do generalizations, but some of the game runners that have identified as being on the spectrum have, for example, ADHD. It's almost like a superpower when you're running a game,
Mhm.
because you are just able to do so much so quickly. And and it's, again, I guess I'm kind of losing it there, but learning, having people, again, it's important that you define your own community with your own
Mhm.
words. It's important that you set your own boundaries using your community's own language, because that teaches us, who those of us who are not in your community, again, your language.
Mhm.
And as a woman, I understand the language of men. I can
Mhm.
speak the language of men. Not many men can speak the language of women. Meryl Streep kind of said this. I may not know the experience of your community, but I want to learn. I want to
Mhm.
listen. I want you to teach me so that we can communicate on different levels as people and have more fun at the gaming table together. I
Mhm.
start understanding your inside jokes because you're opening the door and letting me into your world. And it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I want to touch on something that you mentioned earlier, about how every single person's been mansplained to at a TTRPG table. And I was talking with my wife probably a week ago about a TikTok that I came across. And I am neurospicy with the best of them. Like, one topic to
Spicy.
another, like, off we go.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of this as well, of uh mansplaining, and just like, and it's never coming from a disrespectful place of like, I think somebody couldn't possibly understand. It's because, as a neurodivergent individual, I believe I'm more tolerable with context.
Uh,
Like, it's like, I am making sure that everything is explained logically and laid out so there are no misunderstandings. And it's a me thing,
Yep.
not a the
It
people
it
that I'm
it
speaking to thing.
and here's the thing for me is I get excited. As you saw, I went out, ran out, and got my fucking beer from the fridge
Mhm.
because I was like, "Oh, I get to explain something. Let's go."
That was fucking awesome. And the fact that your fridge is fucking right there is, man, that's like,
Well, I ran out my room. Like I
that's
ran across
awesome.
my place to get to my fridge.
But
But that spontaneity is what makes role playing fun.
Well, yes.
And when
absolutely.
you're teaching someone a new system, James, that what you do is exactly what's needed when you're teaching beginners. And that's
Yes.
probably what makes you excellent at breaking
But
in new
And
systems.
but
almost
you don't
face
assume
planted.
everybody is a beginner, and that's the difference.
Mm,
I'm working on a publication right now that I don't have time to be doing, so it's very rough draft. I've got a history of teaching autistic kids how to play D&D.
mm,
I worked with the Calgary Autism Asperger's Friendship Society,
awesome.
um, doing their D&D Wednesday nights and like sitting down and being like, "Cool, we've got a group of like 7 to 17-year-olds. Let's play some D&D." And everything that goes along with that. And it's not your typical session ever, but there's a lot of things that you learn for there that are from that experience that you can take into GMing for neurodivergent folks,
Yes.
right? And there are significantly more neurodivergent folks in our community than maybe we think they are, or there
Oh
are.
yeah.
Um,
And
and to
more of us are being diagnosed as adults now.
yes, 100%.
Finally, that's kind of, we're all realizing maybe all the things I've experienced in life, like one of my coworkers, an excellent lawyer, just got diagnosed with Asperger's, and it answers all of their questions about
Yep,
their entire life experience.
yep.
And now they know and have a community
Mhm.
and an understanding about themselves that has just been eye opening. The light has shone in and has answered so many things that, no, they're not just weird or what. No, this is, they are built differently in a special way and have gifts.
And to the same point, the life is now more tolerable with context.
100%. Exactly. Knowing, right? If you
And
don't have
And
the language, then it's hard to understand the experience
I'm
to a certain
gonna I'm gonna one final thought before we wrap. So
Oh,
you had mentioned that,
such a good talk, though, guys.
right? Um you mentioned about like I didn't even know that your community existed or that I was welcome to be a part of it.
Hmm.
And we had the same sort of interaction. So we helped put on an event called Enchanted Okotoks um,
Yes.
a little while back. And it was just a giant LARP, everybody walking around in costumes. And we got to meet some of the most amazing people. And just in talking with them, like talking about the kinds of things that we do with Logomancy and even through our Calgary D&D group. And they're like, I didn't realize that a place like Calgary had that kind of stuff. Because we are generally branded as like the Texas of Canada, so to speak, and all of the things that go along with that. Um, and you make the spaces, you make the world that you want to live in it, and the world is run by those who show up. And as much as time constraints and demands on my time are hard, I'm gonna keep showing up because it's what you got to do.
it's important to.
So, final plugs. Vicky, go ahead, plug everything that you want to plug for your con and the dates and all of that jazz.
Okay.
Plug it.
So again,
Plug
our
it.
hybrid con is RPG Alliance Hybrid Con. You can find us on tabletop events. That's where you can buy badges. Badge sales are open now. One thing we do have is that if you're a student, a veteran, or if you're going through hard times, you email us, we'll give you a complimentary badge you can play for free.
Beautiful.
Really strongly believe in accessibility. We keep badge prices the same level as we always have because inflation's killing everybody.
Mhm.
We really don't make much money from this, but the money goes towards, buying lunch for our volunteers, buying T-shirts for them and the game runners and that sort of thing. It goes right back into the con. We don't make a profit because I don't want to do taxes. Um, we're going to be doing, again, Friday, November 17th and November 18th are online days for everybody around the world. We're doing a 24/7 clock. So our friends in the UK and Australia can participate. There's games around the clock. And then Sunday, November 19th, we're at Dickens Pub.
Yes.
Yes, and again, thank God for Amber and Chris at Dickens Pub and the whole staff, and RJ the cook and James the bouncer. They are fantastic. They're there every Gamer Sunday, which is once a month at Dickens Pub, and we're there playing games. Pub Cthulhu. And I guess what I really want to emphasize is we're playing for charities. All
Mhm.
right, we're doing at least 14 charity games that game runners want to run with charity incentives. Our local charities are through canadahelps.org, our fundraising page. You go to our tabletop events, you can see our charity page, and there's a link right there. And we're
Nice.
supporting Calgary Center for Sexuality,
Mhm.
which does Camp Firefly for queer kids and trans kids. I've actually
Yep.
run D&D clinics there, so I love that organization. SOS Ukraine. My co-organizer Trevor is from Ukrainian heritage, and our heart goes out to the people in Ukraine, so we want to help them.
Mhm.
Veterans Food Bank of Calgary. We've been supporting them since day one, our very first con. We continue to support them. We've already sent them $200 worth of laundry detergent and sheets for their laundry facilities. We're going to
Mhm.
try and raise more money for them. And of course, the Urban Society of Aboriginal Youth. We're going to have two different events with Coyote and Crow, a game and then a social pop up.
Mhm.
And we're going to try and raise some money because they're trying to build a new youth center in Calgary. I know this is really long.
Nice.
And then finally, we're doing a Tiltify fundraiser for our American friends. Because again, this con is like, we have a lot of wonderful American friends that come through us for every year. Captain Ron from Greyhawk, Russell from DCC. We love them. Jeremy, all these guys from DCC. We love the DCC community. But
Mhm.
we're raising money for World Central Kitchen. They are
Yeah.
non-political. They just bring food to every war zone, disaster. They're in Morocco. They're in Libya from the earthquakes. They're in Israel and Gaza right now. They do not, and they're in Maui and Hawaii. They're everywhere. So it's a great nonpartisan charity organization that gets food to people that need it in these crisis situations. So I guess that's the big
Nice.
highlight. We got $1,000 worth of in-person prizes, $2,000 from people like Roll20 and R. Telsorian and Mongoose Publishing. They've been very generous. Green
And
Ronin Publishing,
and
love this.
a couple boxes of books from Kobold Press provided by Logomancy.
Yes, thank you so much. East Ridge Games been helpful with that as well. I'm sorry if I'm messing anyone, but thanks for letting me plug. And find us on our Facebook group and our
Mhm.
Facebook page. You can find us on our Discord server. We have a Twitch stream, but it's kind of our channel. It's kind of crappy. I just play Conad and the Expanse, and that's it. And run around naked.
That
Thank you for
helps.
having me, Riley and James. Thank you
Of
for
course.
giving us the time.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating. It's just an honor for you to share this space with me.
Hey.
I'm sorry I drank so much non-alcoholic Guinness.
No, it's all good. But no, thank you very much for joining us.
I
And
appreciate it.
I think we have one major plug for this Saturday.
Yeah. So immediately after finishing the podcast, I'm gonna get back to writing and editing for this weekend. We are running our third annual Roll for Wishes campaign for Make-A-Wish International.
Woo!
Logomancy got its start running TTRPG streams for Make-A-Wish International, and we're gonna keep continuing that as long as we're both around. Um, we've currently raised about $10,000 through the
Wow.
fundraising campaign as a whole. Logomancy hasn't started their stream yet. That's the groups as a whole. Other streaming groups and tabletop games all coming together and collecting donations from their individual communities. Um, this is why diversity is important, people, because
Yep,
everything goes to help kids in need.
exactly.
We're going to be running a 9-ish hour marathon game
Wow.
where the audience affects the gameplay within real time. So there's small things like if you donate $20, there's advantage on dice that go into a dice pool for the players, magical items given in real time, reskinning enemies, just
Mhm.
injecting chaos and entropy into the game. If it's anything like last year, maybe they'll reskin it as a Psych 101 textbook homunculus with my face on it. That was
Yep.
pleasant for me to run.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
that
that
was
was an
great.
interesting thing right at the end.
Yep.
Mhm.
But our goal is $5,000 that we're looking to raise within that 9-hour period. And if we hit that $5,000 goal, I'm gonna eat this one chip challenge and still keep trying to DM while I do it because my body is worth the sacrifice if we can raise a good amount of money for kids. So,
Mhm.
beyond that, you can find us in Airdrie at the public library on November 14th. We're going to be running a presentation called Streaming 101 for a group of kids. Not just kids, but teenagers and young adults on how to get into streaming, what to consider, risks, costs, how to do taxes. Maybe we'll talk about that. That'll be the 14th. It's a free seminar. You can sign up through the Airdrie Public Library. On the 17th, I want to say we're going to be at TTRP or Tabletop YYC-Con, also in Calgary. Or sorry, November 18th, Tabletop YYC-Con at the BMO Center. We're going to be running either some D&D and Lasers and Feelings, or running a Learn to Paint event again. That's still kind of up in the air on what they need us to do.
Yep.
Gonna figure it out. It'll be a good time. And then November 19th, you can, if you're so obliged, show up at RPGA-Con at Dickens, and you can find me running a bunch of games
Woo,
and eating a bunch of probably delicious pizza. Like let's be fair.
Pizza.
Dickens does amazing pizza.
woo.
And then I'm gonna sleep because then I'm good. I don't have any more games to run for a little while, and I can just spend some time with my babies. It'll be a
Get
good
ready
time.
for the
Yeah.
holidays
Exactly. It'll be a good
and
time.
the new
Yep.
year.
Indeed.
Oh,
But yeah, if
God.
you're so obliged, follow us on all the fine social media places
That you can find down in the doobly doos.
that you can find down in the doobly doos. I should really update Twitch. We're back on Twitch now.
We're back on Twitch now.
To
Yes.
have all of that stuff. Audible, Spotify, everywhere that fine podcasts are consumed. You can find these a couple of weeks after we film them. So, Vicky,
Yay.
thank you very much for your time. Hopefully, we can have you on again at some point, or at the very least, get you on a TTRPG stream with us. Maybe we can tell some stories and have a good time.
Okay, but I just gotta say that inevitably with all my characters, something happens, and I do like a lot of toilet humor. So if you're okay with that,
Look,
please invite me back.
the
lot of fun.
last 2 weeks of Pathfinder have been me being a literal bear in a top hat and coat,
Yep.
convincing people I'm not a bear and also a lawyer.
Yep.
So we got you. It'll be okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool.
Such an honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, and